Anse, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Chris Nachkate. Thank you for joining us on our new APTN Languages channel that launched on September 1st, where we will bring continuing coverage of Indigenous news from coast to coast to coast. The families of a motorcycle club in Alberta are mourning the loss of their loved ones after a deadly crash that happened over the weekend northwest of Edmonton. Last Saturday morning, just before noon, Fost RCMP responded to a crash involving multiple motorcycles and a semi near High Prairie and Sucker Creek First Nation on Highway 2. According to RCMP, the semi crossed the center line and struck multiple motorcyclists traveling in the opposite direction, killing 2 and injuring 6 others. The Red Rum Motorcycle Club has identified the 2 victims as 38-year-old Laurent Isidore from Driftpile First Nation and a 33-year-old Tyler Duboski of Edmonton. The group was doing a charity ride that morning to raise awareness for the homeless. RCMP say alcohol is not believed to be a factor in the crash. It has been 17 years since 17-year-old Vanessa Breyer's death, and this week the family is calling on the Manitoba government and the Winnipeg Police Service to reopen its cold case investigation. In 2007, on August 9th, Vanessa Breyer was seen getting into a car in Winnipeg. 2 weeks later, her body was found with multiple stab wounds in a field in the northern edge of the city. Breer's family held their annual 3-day awareness walk from Saugeen First Nation to where she was found. The family is asking if anyone in the public knows who may be involved in Breer's death to come forward and report it to Winnipeg Police or RCMP.
It's been 17 years now that she's been gone. It still bothers me. I still cry at night, and sometimes I don't eat.
She died here. She's dead. And I'm not. I'm gonna keep going till I'm old and gray. Till I can't walk anymore. Then my kids are gonna take over.
The tragic death of an NHL hockey player last week has prompted one Canadian senator to renew his call for warning labels on alcohol products. Senator Patrick Barzot has had his own struggles with alcohol and has been pushing for warning labels on alcohol products. He's even put forward his own private member's bill S-254, which would make these warning labels mandatory. After the deaths of NHL player Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew Gaudreau, he went on social media to again warn about the dangers of alcohol. The Gaudreau brothers were allegedly killed by a drunk driver Thursday night while riding their bicycles. He spoke to APTN News on Friday afternoon.
You know, why do alcohol companies get a free pass from having to provide warning labels? And so, you know, alcohol to me is the new tobacco. The fight against tobacco companies took about 20 to 25 years before everything was said and done. And so, you know, because of my lived experience and because of what I know now and what exists in the literature, well, I've become an advocate and a proponent to make some changes.
The Trondeck Gwich'in First Nation in Dawson City, Yukon, recently unveiled a new statue honoring a well-respected chief. The statue pays tribute to the late Chief Isaac, one of the Han Nation's most influential leaders. Isaac led his people during the 19th century Klondike Gold Rush, which saw 30,000 stampeders descend upon their traditional territory. The concrete and metal statue was gifted to the First Nation by M2 Mining, a placer mining company. Darren Taylor is the chief of the Trondeck Gwich'in First Nation.
He really sets the stage in regards to our presence here and the community today and into the future through his vision and his approach and his tact. I mean, those are things that we carry this day in our own administration in the context of how we engage with settlers and federal and territorial governments and municipal governments to ensure that our rights, titles, and interests are still identified.
Today, thousands of students across Canada are going back to school for their fall classes. But last week in Regina, more than 100 high school and university students got a head start on what they can expect in the years ahead. First Nations University student intern Desiree No Name was there too and filed this story for APTN News.
Students everywhere are about to make that annual leap. Back to school is just around the corner, and for the youth of Cowes First Nation, a gathering like this is setting the stage for what's to come, in the classroom and beyond.
The importance of this conference is for our youth to come together, to share, to network, in order to gather inspiration, to become mentors to each other, peer support to each other.
Among those in attendance is Senior Princess of Cowes First Nation, Mimi Adjikate. Her role as princess is to empower others to be the best they can.
I just like to dance and show the youth of Cowes First Nation that we can still express ourselves and dance how we want to.
More than 150 students, some off reserve and some on reserve, attended the Ignite the Fire conference. They took everything in, from the trade fair to the presenters. This year's MC was renowned journalist and Cowes member Creason Adjikate.
And then once you're done high school, we want to see you do your college or university education.
I'm just hoping that everyone will have a great time, a learning experience, connecting with their friends, make new friends, and so on.
This is the first conference of its kind held by Cowes First Nation. It's not just about speeches, workshops, and seminars. There's plenty of action students are taking part in. Breakdancing is an activity that will always get students off their seats. They witness the 4-Force crew do their moves, who still have what it takes after more than 20 years as a group. The three members also talked about their journey, which all started at Cowes.
Since then, I've been become a homeless here. I've seen a lot for our communities.
Overall, the youth in this room gained a new outlook on their future.
A lot of people that I know here. There's a lot of new things that we could try out. A lot of new things we could learn. We still got another day to go, so still got more to learn.
I want to learn about new ways to do art and stuff, like cultural way.
Follow your dreams.
Go for what you want, not what others want from you.
This was the first ever conference of its kind for Cowes, and in the end, they say it was a success, and plans are already underway for a similar gathering next year. In Regina, I'm Desiree No Name.
We'll tell you about a new program geared towards helping Métis people enter into the tourism and hospitality sector. That story when we come back in about 3 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. A new culinary program hopes to set Red River Métis youth up for success in the tourism and hospitality sector. Named after the Michif word for good food, the Michowin program blends job preparation with cultural immersion. Sierra Benz reports.
It's just before the lunch rush at Bistro on Notre Dame in Winnipeg. And a group of Métis youth are hard at work.
Yeah, I'm making polenta right now. And it smells very good already. And it has garlic, pumpkin seeds, some red peppers, and then onion in here. And
it's the final week of Miyasan Michowin. The free culinary program for Métis youth is led by Bistro owner, Chef Dean Herkert. Over 8 weeks, the students are given a crash course in culinary arts, financial literacy, and employment skills.
The program is designed to help them prepare for employment and cover all the basics. And actually, I've seen the content, and actually the content is good for just about everybody in terms of prepping for employment in general.
The program is a partnership between the Manitoba Métis Federation, Red River College Polytechnic, and the Further Education Society. Students, like Malachi Colombe, spent the first week cooking in the college's kitchen.
We made like pemmican, bannock, and like all these traditional Métis dishes. I think it was important just to like learn my culture and like just go in depth more.
Yes. Later, students connected with their Métis culture at the Riel House National Historic Site.
When we went to the Louis Riel House, we like made bannock over a fire. We did some beading and we did a tour of the house, and I feel like I learned a lot that day.
I've learned a lot more about culture and like with things with like dancing and like what's been going on with like Louis Riel and a lot of different types of foods like with pemmican and different ways to make bannock.
Herkert knows of 8 Indigenous-owned restaurants in Winnipeg, a jump from 0 a decade ago. According to a report by the Conference Board of Canada, the number of Indigenous-owned businesses in Manitoba more than doubled between 2019 and 2023. By training more Métis hospitality professionals, the program hopes to meet a growing demand.
To go from 0 to 8 and to look at the hospitality sector in general and not be able to identify 1/5 of the work population as being Indigenous, there's a gap to fill. There's certainly room for improvement there.
While not all the students are eyeing a career in culinary arts, the training is highly transferable.
We did our first aid training, we got our certificate, we did our food handlers, we're getting like communication, collaboration, skills.
I want to like get a probably like a food job and then also pay for like acting classes and just become an actor. So this will help a lot with like my certificates, getting a job.
As the first Miyasan Michoan class prepares to graduate, Herkert says this is just the start.
This first year, it's a pilot with the Métis. Long term, we would hope to be able to establish similar programs within Manitoba for the different First Nations that are here in the province.
Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
There are hundreds of powwows every summer all over North America, and while they celebrate Indigenous culture, they are open to all. The Calgary Public Library is hosting something called Powwow Trail 101. The program is meant to educate everybody on the protocols on what to expect when they are there. Here's CTV's Kevin Fleming.
She's here with her son and daughter, and Kaval Mahindru has always been curious about Indigenous culture, and this is her first experience with a powwow.
I've always felt that, we want to be respectful, and I think this will really help us understand how to do that and how we can participate appropriately.
Close to 100 people are taking part in the Calgary Public Library's Powwow Trail 101 program.
We see a lot of more people coming to the powwows now that reconciliation is more of a thing. Prior to that, there used to be kind of like almost people wondering if it's okay to come onto First Nations reserves, but this is a way to teach people that it is okay to come onto the community and to participate.
Elisa Galvin has a friend visiting from South America.
Because my friend came from Argentina, I wanted to show her the Canadian culture. My husband saw this program. The cultural life we have here in Canada, in Calgary, and some people doesn't even know it.
Powwows vary from nation to nation, and Kelly Morning Bull is proud to share her culture.
I'm from Piikani Nation, so we have in our community what is called the Iron Man, Iron Woman, and it's the fancy dances. And so it's the ones with the shawls, the women in the shawls, and then the men with the big bustles and the feathers, and they spin and they dance, and it's very, very exciting.
Christine Lee says this is a great opportunity for her and her daughters.
They're learning a lot in school lately, and so they want to experience new cultures and new traditions and dancing, and so I think it's a great opportunity for them to learn more about what's going on around our city and Treaty 7.
Kevin Fleming, CTV News, Calgary.
After 10 years, Saskatoon rapper Dreezus will be in studio to tell us all about his new album and how he got hooked into hip-hop. We'll be back in less than 3 minutes. Stick around. Over on the East Coast, Halifax 16, Charlottetown 22, Northern Quebec, Nujuac 16, the Grand River 10, Gaspé 18, Saguenay 23, Southern Ontario, Peterborough 24, Toronto 25, 24 in Timmins, Thunder Bay 25, Northern Manitoba, God's Lake 14, Thompson 17, Winnipeg 20, Prince Harbour 19, Swift Current 24, Yorkton 21, La Ronge 20, Stony Rapids 15, 19 in Fort McMurray, 15 in Peace River, Lethbridge 27, Red Deer 25, Victoria 22, 31 in Kamloops. Fort Nelson 16, Prince Rupert 16 as well. Beaver Creek 16, Rock River 11. 13 in Yellowknife, 18 in Wrigley. Sachs Harbor 6, Colville Lake 9. Chesterfield 11, Baker Lake 6. And Iqaluit 6, and Igloolik 2. For more than 20 years, First Nations rapper and producer Dreezus from Saskatoon has been sharing his life through his music. The multi-award-winning artist takes time to give back to his community through activism and youth outreach. He says hip-hop was his lifeline during some of his most turbulent times. Dreezus recently released his new single, Cover My Shoulders, off his upcoming album, hoping to instill confidence in his listeners. We recently spoke with Dreezus in studio. Here's that interview. Dreezus, thank you for chatting with us today. How did you get started in hip-hop? What inspired you? And tell us how you got the name Dreezus.
So with hip-hop music came to me very young. I was the type of kid that was always shy, you know. I used to sit in the back of class all the time, like, don't look at me, you know, kind of guy, putting my head down. And when I was in the back of the class, I met this young dude named Fu. He's a Vietnamese, bro. And one day he was like, you ever hear rap music? You know, do you listen to rap music? And I was like, at the time I was super young, but I was like, yeah, I think I heard of it, you know what I mean? I definitely saw it on TV and stuff like that. And he told me about this radio station in Calgary, 90.9. Every Sunday they played rap.
Yeah.
And he said, tune in. And this is back in, you know, the old dinosaur days when we had radio and that's about it. We had no iPhones, you know. And the first thing I thought of was my Cookum's boombox. So like, my Cookum would go to church or go to work. I would sneak in her room, zoink, take the boombox, dial in 90.9. And I was like, there's something about the beats, you know, something about the beats that gravitated towards me, but even more so was the confidence, and the confidence in sharing their stories. I always felt like I was being judged. I always felt like I was being looked at crazy, walking around as a young Native kid. I always felt like boxed in. And every time I turned on the music, it was usually by myself at first. And that became my escape, you know. And then I started watching the videos, Rap City, after school, 3:30 p.m., dial in, started making my own mixtapes out of the VCR. And I remember when I very first wrote my first rap, when I think about it, I still remember 4 words, or four groups of words. Juvenile, freestyle, Creed Child, Buck Wild. And when I think about it, that was me trying to express myself and express who I was, you know, and that really opened up some doors for me and opened up this portal, this whole like, it opened up my spirit to where I had a way to articulate who I was. And I always felt like that part of me wasn't active, because I grew up not knowing, you know, who I was in that way. So hip hop became this source of confidence that would eventually lead me to those places.
Yeah. In the past, you talked about being disconnected from your Plains Cree heritage when you were growing up. How did music bring that connection back to you and your ancestry?
Yeah, just like, you know, like I said, with the hip hop music, it gave me the confidence to just be myself and express myself. I think that was the key thing that came about through being a fan of hip hop, was starting to be more comfortable with expression and getting things off my chest. And the more that I expressed, I feel like the more I let go of, and the more passage I opened for my spirit. It helped give me a sense of confidence that I didn't have before, and it made me think about, okay, hip-hop culture is not my own culture, you know, let's be real. It made me think about, what is my culture then? You know, where does it come from? Where do I come from?
Yeah.
And then I started with my family, my last name, Manitopius. I started, you know, thinking about, okay, some of my family goes to church, some of my family goes to sweat lodge, you know, and I started really thinking about what made me, you know. So I started looking back, you know, and I realized that I was, at first I thought I was only Cree. I realized that I'm mostly Anishinaabe, and also known as, well, where I come from, Soto. But it led me to the culture, and when I found that, I really started to find like more roots, grow roots into the ground, you know, and it made me go further into that, learning songs, going to lodge, learning how to pray, learning how to smudge. All these things started coming to me, and I started to find more power, started to find more strength, to find more grounding in myself, you know, and to this day, I still, you know, I practice the culture, you know, as much as I can, you know. Praying was always there with my cookum, but she came up in the residential school system, so I feel like that confused me a little bit in the beginning, to be honest, you know, about who we were praying to. And once I tapped into Anishinaabe culture and into the songs, you know, it really hit home with me, and I feel so much stronger now, you know, in my spirit.
You have a new album coming out this fall, your first album in 10 years. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sheesh. It's been a long time coming, you know. So life gets in the way, you know. I shouldn't say life gets in the way, but life kind of engulfs you a little bit, you know, and I didn't realize all that time passed, but I've been doing so much, like with music, like, all related to music, like traveling, doing shows, going to communities, even like winning awards, MTV Video Music Awards with Taboo and those guys, which is awesome, beautiful. But I have to remember what got me there. So I have to remember, get back to the drawing board, make music, you know what I mean? And I feel like now I'm at this point where I have a whole different view of the world, and I want to share that, you know, today. So I'm super excited, you know. The new album's called Nagamo, and Nagamo means sing your song, and for me it's that time, you know, to really let them know how I feel.
We'll have to leave it there, Jesus.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Miigwech.
And that's our show for this Tuesday, September 3rd. You can also watch this newscast on the new APTN Languages channel, where we have more than 100 hours of weekly Indigenous language programming. From everyone at APTN National News, hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again.